Indeed, a very good morning and welcome to Citizen Extra on this Monday, the 25th day of September 2017. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. Now, two commendable things happened in Germany yesterday. First, two Kenyans, I'm talking about Eliud Kipchoge and Gladys Cherono, won the Berlin Marathon in the men's and women's races, bringing much needed smiles to Kenyans. But at the same time, Berlin showed Kenyans that it is possible to host an international marathon and hold a federal election at the same time. When will Kenya get to such a point? That is the question many took to social media to ask yesterday. Now, the realities on the ground in our country, however, is that this week both Jubilee and NASA have declared that they will take decisive steps to deal with institutions and laws that they are not comfortable with in the run-up to the October 26 poll. Legislators allied to the Jubilee Party are expected to meet this week to strategize on making amendments to the Elections Act, which they believe is ambiguous in certain aspects and could have denied President Uhuru Kenyatta his victory on the 1st of September. Meanwhile, the National Super Alliance have called for demonstrations beginning tomorrow as they seek to compel IEBC to carry out key reforms, including the removal of key officials. Now, while all this is happening, the nurses' strike drags on, edging closer to the 120th day mark, with pharmaceutical technologists also expected to join the nurses and clinicians in abandoning their workstations. We are monitoring this ongoing strike as the health crisis deepens. And finally, Kenya's hope of hosting the January 2018 CHAN tournament went up in smoke when the Confederation of African Football, also known as CAF, stripped this East African nation of the rights. What went wrong and who is responsible? We'll also seek later on to get to the bottom of this challenge. My name is Wahiga Mwaura, of course, and we really would like your feedback on some of the topics we'll be discussing on Citizen Extra today. Talk to us. Our SMS line is 22422. And on social media, you can tweet us. The hashtag is Citizen Extra, at Citizen TV Kenya, on Twitter and on Facebook as well. And I will read some of your feedback throughout the course of this broadcast. I've got quite a panel in studio, and I'll be introducing them to you shortly. But before that, let's get updates from the counties. Now, we want to ask them today regarding IEBC matters. All focus on them today as we get closer and closer to the October 26 poll. We want to find out from them, should IEBC, led by Chairperson Wafula Chebukati, quickly carry out its own internal reforms before the October 26 polls, or should they wait for the DPP, the EACC, and the courts to act? Should IEBC find a way to self-reform if that is possible, or should they wait for the DPP, EACC, the courts, and any other bodies, of course, to act? That's the question we are asking today, and we want to hear your feedback on that. Let's now get updates from what Nyeri residents have to say, or actually this time around it's like Laikipia County. That's where Martin Munene is. He's usually based in Nyeri. Martin, good morning. I believe you're able to help us indulge residents of Laikipia about that particular question. What are they saying?
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Mwaura. And like you said, you're getting us live from Laikipia County. I am in Nanyuki town where we are following up on this particular issue, the IEBC issue. And we're going to be joined here by the Deputy Governor for this particular county. An interesting fact is that he's one of the two governors in this country who are elected on an independent ticket, trouncing and beating the Jubilee candidate. But we're going to be looking into that particular issue of the IEBC. So kindly, Governor John Moneki, Deputy Governor, kindly, if you can join me here. Can you just help us understand, as a leader in this region and as a resident of Nanyuki, what do you take? What is your take on the fact that IEBC is going to be probed? Should they have internal mechanisms to solve their problems, or should they wait for the EACC and also the Director of Public Prosecutions and other bodies to investigate them? What is your take on that?
Thank you very much. I think what we need to appreciate is that IEBC is an institution. It's not a political party where people can wake up and decide to evict their executive director. You remember one time our friends in ODM had to evict the executive director in a very uncouth manner. And I think they need to understand that IEBC is an institution that has a HR procedure on how to discipline and deal with issues about their staff. In any case, the detailed ruling was very clear that they did not specify individuals in IEBC who are culpable. In fact, the ruling by the CJ was very clear. There is no culpable person in IEBC as an individual. So I think they should allow IEBC to conduct its own internal procedures And should they find that there are people who require to be disciplinary actions to be taken, then they can be done. In any case, the law is very clear that if there are electoral offences, there are procedures to deal with that. I think it's unfortunate that the opposition is appointing itself as a judge, as a referee, as everything in this game. And I think they need to realize that there are other Kenyans who are also participants in this game, and they should allow for a fair process. In any case, why do we have the EACC? Why do we have the DPP in place? These are institutions that are being put in place by our constitution, and they should be let to do their job without being coerced or intimidated. Another thing, by going to the streets, honestly, what are we telling our children? What are we telling this nation? That the only way to solve problems will be going to the street? So if tomorrow I'm not convinced that I should work with an officer in this county or in another organization of our country, the best way would be to go to the street and have that person removed from office. I think that is not proper. Yes.
And maybe just a recap, the EACC and also the Director of Public Prosecutions, should they get into IEBC and actually try to see what is going on? And if they did, should the officers that could be found or maybe could be investigated, should they step aside or should they continue working, waiting what goes on?
And that's what exactly I'm saying, that let's allow the internal procedures of IEBC to take its course. IEBC has very elaborate procedure, and should they find that there are individuals who require to be investigated, they will forward that investigation to the criminal department. It's not even so that the procedure can be followed. We have a penal code here in this country that needs to be followed. Now, talking about people stepping aside, we have an election to conduct in exactly 30 days. And we're talking about people stepping aside. Are we honest with ourselves that we want this country to get back on track and proceed? Or are we actually creating problems for our country? Sometimes I really wonder, somebody wants to be a president of this republic and you're busy banning the country. You've banned the economy. So which country do you want to lead? In fact, one wonders whether indeed one wants to go down with the country or actually wants to lead the country. But one thing I know is that there is a president in place. The president continues, the constitution is very clear that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta continues to be the president and until another president is sworn in. Right. And I think that's why it should be very clear to all Kenyans so that we move on and we're able to proceed. We've just received, lost an opportunity to host the CAFA games simply because of this political uncertainty. And it's costing us a lot day by day. I think let's all agree to go out there, look for votes. We meet on 26th of the ballot. I mean, what is NASA fearing to face the election? I think Jubilee is ready. We are supporting the President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy William Ruto, and we meet on the ballot.
All right. Thank you. Those are the sentiments of the Deputy Governor Laikipia County, John Moneki. And like he said that he feels, or rather Nanyuki or actually Laikipia County feels that IEBC should be left to handle its affairs. And if they are going to find any people who need to be investigated, it should come from their side. And of course, we're going to be following this discussion and also other developments in this county. The county government of Laikipia is expected to be unveiling its cabinet later, and maybe we can focus on that a little bit later. Back to you in studio. I am Martin Munene.
Well, thank you so much, Martin Monene. As soon as the county government of Laikipia unveils their cabinet, we'll be coming back to you. But thank you for that update from Laikipia County. Also, Citizen TV is in possession of a letter from the EACC to the office of the DPP. This letter actually indicates that it was written or dispatched on the 22nd of September. And it states that the EACC is recommending that they form a joint team together with the DPP to begin to investigate electoral fraud by the IBC, if that happened, in what ways, etc. So we'll give you more details on this as and when we get that information. But for now, we want to find out from you, what's your take on IBC? Should they quickly carry out some sort of self-reforms, or should they wait for this process, which has actually begun based on that letter that we have received dated 22nd of September? Let's now get an update from John Wanyama, Uasin Gishu County. Wanyama, you've had my question. What do residents of Uasin Gishu feel? What's the best way for IBC to be able to handle the storm that is obviously coming, while at the same time prepare for the upcoming polls? Should they find a quick mechanism of reforming internally, or can they just wait now for the EACC, office of the DPP, the courts to act as well? Wanyama, what would residents of Uasin Gishu have to say?
Over to you. A very good morning to you, Maura, and here in Uasin Gishu County, we are here with the residents also with the same question that you are posing here, there in the studio, to ask these residents what do they have to say about the IEBC. Should they wait for the court maybe to come out and rule, or the DPP to come and investigate, or they wait for this demonstration, or they live on their own, they solve their own internal wrangles? And here, Maura, let me talk to residents here to tell us what do they have to say about this. Maoni yako ni yapi kuhusiana na IEBC? Wewe unaona wangoje kwanza uamuzi wa koti wapo uchunguzi utafanywa, ama unangoja wenyewe wajiandae na waondoke?
Wacha tuseviane time, tusishinde mahali pamoja kila siku. Wacha new team iletwe ndani. IEBC wenyewe wako saizi, wacha waende. Timu mpya ikuje, kila mtu aridhike. Elections ikifanyika, kila mtu aridhike. Tusianze tena kurudi after 26 wasema ati Chiloba ndiye tulitaka aende na bado amebaki na shida imetokea. Wacha iende, hiyo timu yote iende, timu nyingine ikuje. Tuokoleane time.
Haya, kwa maoni yangu nikiwa mkaaji wa Uasin Gishu, ninaona hakuna haja kuruhusiana maneno. Chiloba afanye kazi yake, na Chiloba ako na kura moja. Sasa election ifanyike tarehe 26 kwa maoni yangu, na watu wanaza wawaje maneno ya mass action. Hiyo ndio maoni yangu.
Mimi naitwa Nick Hannington. Nataka kusema ni kwamba IEBC, nataka kusema ni kwamba katika nchi ya Kenya, unajua wakati tulifanya uchaguzi tulifanya katika huru na haki, lakini kwa sababu IEBC ilifika mali ikatufail, na mtu ambaye alifail si wote, mtu ambaye kwa pale ni wala maana kinara mwenyewe hana shida, lakini sasa ule hiyo Chiloba itakuwa aende nyumbani kwa sababu alitufail. Hakuna haja tufanya max action, haitasaidia. By the way, the best thing for us to do, wacha Chiloba aende nyumbani, alafu Chebukati achague wengine ambao watafanya kazi. Maana Chebukati mwenyewe tukimtoa itabidi na katiba inasema kwamba tuchukue karibu mwaka kama moja kufanya uchaguzi na kuchagua. Hasa kitu ya maana Chiloba must go, ndio tuwe na uchaguzi ya huru na haki as Kenyans. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Okay, mimi naitwa John Koech. Mimi ni mkazi wa Eldoret. Kwangu mimi naonelea Chiloba hapaki kwa ofisi akifanya kazi. Hizi mambo za mass action kufanya nini, hii ni mambo ya kufuruka ya amani Kenya. Kwa hivyo kwangu mimi, mbona Raila awe selective? Mara sijui Chiloba nani huko chini, mbona wasema the whole Supreme Court waende nyumbani? Kwa hivyo hii ni mambo ya kufuruka amani, na tunataka amani. So
Maura, let me talk to our political analyst here to tell us, Mr. Champunet, what are your views on this issue, that IEBC, should they just solve their problems internally for this or some officers to go, or they wait for the DPP to come and do investigation and make the ruling in the court?
Thank you very much. Considering the constitutional timelines, it's difficult to have a new IEBC body, and so the ruling of the Supreme Court said that there were irregularities and illegalities. I think Chebukati and Chiloba and company, they are aware that the Supreme Court pointed out some areas that should be corrected, and Chebukati knows that the best place if they break the law is to be in jail. So this time round, I know they are very careful. And Wanyama, you know, what Maraga said in his ruling, that should you not correct the anomalies, this court will still be there to deal with you. So I believe this time round, wherever Chiloba is or the Secretariat, I believe this time round they'll have their act right, and so things will be okay. And one thing I would like to say is that NASA and company, you know, they use the usual delaying tactics. Those people are very ready for the election. It's only that they want to distract maybe Jubilee, so that Jubilee will concentrate on Raila and forget to go and look for votes. So Raila is very ready and Uhuru is very ready. These are just people who are maybe worried about the defeat and so forth. But what is there is that the IEBC are aware. They know what should be corrected. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maura. Those are some of views from residents here in Eldoret. And the question that now begs to ask is, will this election be held? Now, when we saw the government body language last week when an Attorney General was addressing the nation, Kenyans are left wondering whether this election will be held on 26th of October or not. Maura.
I don't know if you're asking me that question, Wanyama. I definitely don't have the answers. We'll have to wait and see how matters play out. John Wanyama there giving or getting different views from residents of Eldoret City, Uasin Gishu County. In just a bit, we'll be crossing over to Kisumu County and Mombasa County. Laura Otieno, Asha B. Kidusa will be giving us an update. But let me also introduce my guest in studio. I'm glad to have here with me Honorable Boni Halwale, Deputy Leader, Ford Kenya. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
In addition, we have Mwende Mwinzi, Member of Parliament, Mwingi West. Welcome to the program as well.
Aspirant, thank you.
Welcome. And in addition, we also have Ababu Namamba, Leader of the Labour Party. Welcome to the program as well. I'll be engaging them shortly. Same question. We're still talking about IBC matters, and we'll be talking with them in just a bit about that. But let's cross over to Mombasa County, where we now join Asha B. Kidusa. Asha, same question to you. IBC matters, reforms. You can see the storm that is clearly heading their way. What are residents of Mombasa County saying about that?
Very good morning to you, Waihige. I'm coming to you live from Kisahuni here in Mombasa. It's a sunny morning in this coast city, and I'll be speaking to some residents of Mombasa concerning matter IEBC, especially the reforms. And even this comes after the EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, says that they'll start investigating the irregularities which were there on August 8th election. Nam, tueleze majina yako na maoni yako kuhusiana na unadhani makamishna wa IEBC wanapaswa kujiuzulu wakati uchunguzi unapoanza?
Jina langu ni Mohamed Hemed. Jina langu ni Mohamed Hemed Changauko. Wasikizaji wa Radio Salamu wananijua kama mzee wa busara. Na nina ujuzi, nimefanya kazi katika insurance 28 years.
Na unadhani makamishna wa IEBC wanafaa wajiuzulu EACC na kuanza uchunguzi wake?
Ya, mtu yoyote aliye anafanywa uchunguzi hakubadiki kuketi ofisini sije akauharibu ule uchunguzi. Sawa ni aketi nje ufanye uchunguzi mpaka upatikane matokeo. Sasa hapo iangaliwe atapelekwa kotini ama atarudi ofisini. Lakini sasa hivi si sawa kubaki ofisini.
Na asante sana. Itakuwa tunaweza kujiunga na mkazi mwingine aweze kutueleza maoni yake kuhusiana na swala hilo. Na mtueleze majina yako na maoni yako kuhusiana, je, makamishna wa IEBC wanapaswa kujiuzulu wakati EACC inapoanza uchunguzi?
Makamishna sote wanafaa kujiuzulu. Chebukati ana haki yake, lakini Chiloba, Kenya imeumizwa na Chiloba. Na matamshi ya rais ni aibu kwa taifa zima. Tunamheshimu rais, tunaheshimu wanasiasa, lakini taifa hili limeingia kwa mzozo wa kisiasa. Wakenya wameumia, uchumi umeharibika kwa sababu ya wanasiasa wawili.
Na hawa makamishna wanafaa wajiuzulu au la?
Makamishna hawafai wote kabisa. Kenya imeharibiwa na makamishna wa IEBC. Bas.
Na asante sana. Itakuwa tunaweza kujiunga na mkazi mwingine kumuuliza swala hilo. Na majina yako na hisia zako, je, makamishna wa IEBC wanapaswa kujiuzulu wakati tume ya ufisadi inapoanza uchunguzi?
Makamishna wanastahili kujiuzulu wote, wale ambao watapatikana na makosa watoke, kwa sababu hao ndio ambao wameregesha nyuma uchumi wa Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta hana makosa, Raila hana makosa. Mahakama ilisema kwamba tume ndio iko na makosa. Kwa hivyo sioni haja ya kiongozi wote wa kisiasa kuitetea tume. Akiitetea tume pia yeye inaonekana kwamba yuko katika makosa. Kwa hivyo mahakama vile ilivyoamuru, wale watu waondolewe wote na warudi nyumbani wakalime mihogo.
Asante sana. Itakuwa tunaweza kujiunga na mkazi mwingine. Na anza kwa majina na hisia zako kuhusiana na hili swali.
Mimi naitwa Geoffrey Tea. Mimi naitwa Geoffrey Tea. Nasema hivi, kwa hisia yangu mimi nasema kwa watu wa IEBC, wale makamishna wakubwa, sisi hatujaona ubaya wao. Sisi tunataka Chebukati afanye kazi na wale wenzake, wale mahali makaratasi kuandikwa vizuri, wale maklake, wale watu wa chini warekebise kama hapa Mombasa Kisauni. Na watu wengine
Asante sana. As you've heard, Wahiga, there are mixed views from the residents of Mombasa here. Some of them are saying that the IEBC commission maybe should go home, and there are others who think that only those irregularities which were there should be corrected and IEBC should left to do their work. Back to you in studio in Nairobi, Wahiga.
Well, thank you so much, Asha Bikidusa there, reporting from Mombasa County for that update regarding our big question of the day, talking IBC matters. Let's now get an update from Kisumu County before we begin our discussion here in studio. Laura Otieno joins us for that particular update. Laura, the question we're asking today, should IBC find a way to quickly self-reform, find mechanisms, deal with the illegalities and irregularities that are pointed out by the Supreme Court, or should they wait for the DPP, EACC, the courts to act on them? How should they operate, and that needs to happen quickly?
Yes, thank you very much, Wahiga, and a very good morning to you here from the lakeside city of Kisumu. And basically we're on the ground to get opinions of people directly themselves. And maybe if we could reminisce 2015 for a while, Wahiga, when we had an almost similar scenario where various PSS and CSS were suspended to pave way for investigations, but then there was a tussle between the Council of Governors and the presidency, where the then Council of Governors chairman, former Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto, had said that governors will not be stepping aside to pave way for investigation. So it's almost a similar scenario that we can try and apply to this context here, Wahiga. And maybe if you could just sample opinions of some of the people here in Kisumu County, what they feel. Very good morning to you, sir. And can you come and tell us, do you think that IBC officials should step aside to pave way for investigations?
Yeah, thank you so much. The first thing I would say, if the elections were bungled, somebody must have been responsible. It starts with the commission. Everything starts and falls with the leadership. The commission would have stepped down the very day the High Court ruled out that the elections were bungled. All the illegalities and irregularities that were seen were caused because of the IEBC. And the chairman, as the head of it, the buck stops with him. He should not give lectures. Actually, he should have shown the people the door and himself follow after them, so that we have a clean field even if the next election is going to be held.
Yes, thank you very much. And maybe if I could get the views of a second person kindly. With the time we have between now and elections, do you think it's justified? Do you think they should still step aside considering the time we have between now and the actual time of elections?
Thank you, madam. I would like to speak in Swahili so that the rest of the Kenyans may understand. Mimi kwa upande wangu mimi napinga hili jambo. Kwanza kabisa tukumbuke hiyo uamuzi ambayo ulitolewa na Uhuru mwenyewe akisema kwamba kama unachunguzwa inatakikana, sio hata inatakikana, inafaa, ni lazima ukae kando ili uache uchunguzi uendelee vizuri. Mimi kwa upande wangu naona ya kwamba IBC sio vizuri, inatakana wao wametoka kitambo. Kwa sababu gani? Kuna watu wengine wanaona ya kwamba kuna mwizi mzuri na kuna mwizi mbaya. Sasa kwa upande wangu mimi naona kwamba IBC ni mwizi mzuri kwa upande wa Jubilee, kwa sababu Jubilee ndio wafali nini.
Nilikuwa nauliza the time we have between now na time ya kupiga kura, waki step aside, do you think that's going to compromise the quality of elections?
Yeah, in fact, hiyo ni automatically. Na hiyo sasa tunaonelea hiyo ni mbaya sana. Hiyo ni mbaya.
Yeah, well, Wahiga, maybe you didn't get my question clearly, but of course that is the feel of the people. We'll be sampling various opinions later on, of course, in the course of the day. But as you remember, they're all reminiscing 2015 when the president had given a directive that if you're being investigated by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, that was of course applying to the PSS and CSS and of course the governors, that they should be stepping aside. But of course how that is going to affect the general handling of elections, as you know, the High Court had ruled that there are cases of irregularities and illegalities. So of course we'll be waiting to see how that plays out, and that is all we have for now here in Kisumu County. We'll be keeping you updated in case of anything, Wahiga.
Well, thank you so much, Laura Otieno, for that update. Definitely IBC matters. Very emotive, as you can see from some of the reactions we're getting across the country. Now, before I turn to my panel here in studio, I want you to listen to what NASA leader Raila Odinga had to say yesterday about proposed mass action set to start tomorrow, and of course the response by Deputy President William Ruto. Let's listen in.
Kama wale weze watatoka kwa hiari yao, Bwana Cheloba na wenzake, na watatoa ile kampuni ya Kandurai, ile kampuni ya Safran Mofo, siku ya Jumanne asubuhi, Kenya mzima itaenda kule anniversary sawa kuwatoa. Kenya mzima, muko tayari? Muko tayari? Hata walete jeshi leta polisi na tiaga na bunduki. Tuko tayari, sio?
Hatutachoka. Sisi wengine tulikula hata sumu ili wanapiga tear gas. Tuko tayari kurudi kule kuhakikisha hakuna mwananchi wa Kenya ataitwa mtumwa tena kwa nchi yake.
That was a bit about what the NASA team had to say yesterday in Dagoretti, I believe. Let's now listen into what Deputy President William Ruto had to say. He was in Nandi County yesterday. Let's listen into his response to a bit about what the NASA team had to say.
Sasa hakuna time ya kupoteza Kenya hii, ati tunakungojea wewe, ati unasema hakuna uchaguzi. Kwani sasa hii dunia imekuwa yako peke yako, my friend? Sisi wengine tumekuwa wakimbizi ama tumekuwa sasa ni watalii ama sisi ni wakimbizi? Bana. No. Hapana, hiyo haiwezekani. Ama nyinyi mnasema namna gani? Hapana, no. Hiyo tumekataa. Wewe, if anybody believes in democracy, they must be prepared to respect the will of the people of Kenya in a free and fair democratic election. And that is what we want.
Ni sisi tulisema tuchaguane tena ama ni wao? Ni wao walienda kotini. Basi anaogopa nini kuja tuchaguane ama namna gani? Na baada ya hapo ustaafu, urudi ukae huko Pondo, uangalia wajukuu, uangalie Kenya ya Uhuru na Ruto akiipeleka mbele.
Well, that's a bit of what happened this past weekend. Let me now engage my panel in studio. Honorable Halwal, let me start with you. Your take. You've heard what Kenyans have had to say. You've also had a bit from our leaders there. What is your view on IBC? What's the way forward?
The way forward is as advised by Justice Maraga, i.e. having conducted the elections in contravention of the Constitution, as evidenced by the stated irregularities and illegalities. The way forward is to go for an election, and if it is on 26th, we at NASA, we are ready and willing to participate in that election. However, before we do that, we will also have to agree with the reality that those irregularities and illegalities were committed by somebody. And if that somebody is going to remain in office, it therefore means that there is no cure. I therefore want to agree with the leadership of NASA in total that if we had a chance, we would have preferred a situation whereby you remove the entire IEBC commissioners and secretariat. But because of the process of appointment of new commissioners, time will not allow. So the easier one, the practical one, is we go for the secretariat, and there are specific people. We have spoken about Chiloba must go, Nyabuto must go, Thank you Torrey has gone, Mohati has been suspended. The entire leadership of the secretariat should go, and it did not stop there. We have to go again to the counties, the county returning officers, the constituency returning officers. They should also be removed.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, they should also be removed. Having done that, then we'll be good to go.
What are the implications of what NASA is calling for on the upcoming polls, considering this same team is the one that is set to conduct the upcoming polls?
I think the problem is not with what the former Prime Minister said yesterday. Is the interpretation of what he said. He was very clear. He simply said, we have asked that these people should go. And we are saying they should go immediately. And if they don't go, it was if they don't go, then we shall, from tomorrow, march to anniversary time. So he was not saying, I'm calling for mass action. He was creating a window of opportunity, and we are saying tomorrow, because there isn't much time. We've got to get these people out of office and get them out quickly. Yeah.
So if anything happens at IBC today, in fact, you know what, I'll come back to you and follow up with this discussion. I need to bring Mwende into this conversation. Get your reaction as well to what Kenyans have had to say. Go ahead.
First, I'd like to respond to what he just said. I think NASA is just simply not genuine.
What ways?
They do not want to go to the ballot. They're changing the goalpost at every moment. They know very well that there's no way you can purge the Secretariat of the IBC before we meet the constitutional requirement of voting within 60 days. But more importantly, there's actually no reason to dismantle the IBC Secretariat. The Supreme Court did not indict any single member of the IBC staff of any crime. These so-called irregularities and illegalities are not really clearly defined. We have an institution that we should respect. And rather than trying to flee from facing Jubilee on the 26th, I think, you know, NASA should stop talking about the IBC Secretariat and then leaving the CEO in a corner because, of course, he is an accomplice to their overall agenda.
The CEO, the chairman?
The chairman, yeah.
Okay.
You know, they keep on focusing on Chiloba. Somewhere along the line, the Chebukati discussion disappears. But IEBC is capable of conducting a credible election. IEBC will be conducting a credible election. In fact, what I would like to call for is a timeline. Let's get the timeline. If NASA wants to meet us at the ballot, well and good. If they don't, I don't see anywhere in the Constitution where it says Raila Odinga must be at the ballot. I also don't see anything in the Constitution that says that we must meet all of Raila Amolo Odinga's demands before we go to the ballot. If he's so discontent, he should just step aside. There were other candidates that vied. Maybe they should be brought back to the table, and we respect the people of the will of Kenyans.
Don't you feel there's a danger that if we go to the polls the way the IEBC is currently constituted, it will be very easy to overturn this coming election as well? Does that not worry Jubilee in any part? That we could be back here again in January?
Not at all. Not at all. I think there are some mistakes that were learned across board. At least on Jubilee's part, and I speak as an ex-aspirant, our eyes will be very keenly on making sure that our votes are not stolen. It's interesting that they accuse everybody else of stealing, but they don't tell us what crimes they committed. This institution should be respected. I think Raila's call for mass action is highly, highly, highly irresponsible. If anything, to me, it underscores the multiple reasons why we need to make sure that we reject the mere thought of a Raila presidency. For a presidential candidate...
Those are your personal views?
These are my personal views,
okay.
And I hold on to them very strongly. For a presidential candidate to actually be flaunting and you know, asking Kenyans to disrespect a public institution that is so important, particularly
Wouldn't
at
you say
this
that's
particular
what
time.
Jubilee is doing as well with the Supreme Court?
Well, we have clear evidence. I mean, if you even listen to, if you watched the judgment, the detailed judgment, it was horrifying to see that some people clearly had not even received that document before, which means they had not even written it. I think you had a guest before on this very same show, moments ago, that even, you know, maybe it was a Freudian slip, that admitted that he had participated in the judgment writing. How does that happen?
Honorable Babu, come in. You've been very thoughtful throughout this, the start of this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Wahiga. You know, Wahiga, it is in moments such as this that you appreciate why countries have constitutions. You appreciate why democracies are anchored on laws. And for me, we are in a moment where we have to make a simple choice. And the choice is between the rule of law and the rule of the jungle. Simple. The rule of law, the rule of the jungle. You have to choose between democracy and mobocracy. You have to choose between order and anarchy. And all those things are found in our constitutional framework. You know, if we were to exist or to run this country in a manner where we do things at the whim of individuals, the will of people, and not the will of the law, then we have 45 million wills. We have 45 million whims. So you'll have to basically wade through 45 million whims of every single citizen. And everybody could stand up and pretty much make a demand and say this must be. And that is why we have constitutions. That's why we have a constitution which, in a moment such as this, we have to ask ourselves, what is the law? what's the constitution, because the constitution then becomes the primary arbiter. And for me, Kenyans have got a very, very simple choice. We either want to throw this country to anarchy, where the rule of law is bastardized, or we want to keep on the straight and narrow of the rule of law. And we have no choice. On that matter, we have no choice. Respectively, I want to disagree with my brother Halwala when he says that Raila has not called for mass action. Raila's words are very clear, very unambiguous, and they leave absolutely no shade of doubt. He has even thrown a challenge to our discipline forces. He has actually said, even if they bring out the military, they bring out the police, basically Raila has sounded a war cry. Raila has actually declared intent to overthrow the established constitutional order in this country, as far as my interpretation is concerned. It is my interpretation, okay. I'm here to share just my interpretation. Okay. Because he's asking people to come out and raid a constitutional body. And he's saying...
Not peacefully demonstrate.
He's saying...
Which is allowed.
You see, if you say, let us come out and demonstrate and picket, which is allowed in the constitution, that is a different matter than saying, even if the army or the police, basically you're saying that even if the police were to attempt to bring order, because you see, we've seen even in organized democracies, mature democracies like the US, you'd remember that in the aftermath of the Trump election, there was a lot of picketing and demos across the country. And in all those places, you saw police officers, you saw security agencies, basically to provide order, to provide security. That's right. You know, for a person who dreams to be commander-in-chief of the armed forces, of the disciplined forces, I find Raila's remarks very irresponsible, actually very reckless and dangerous. And I wonder whether really the disciplined forces he holds in such low regard would be comfortable with him as their commander-in-chief. But bottom line for me is that we have a very clear platform upon which to operate. The Supreme Court actually provided a basis, and that's why we kept on saying, I was in this studio, I think a couple of weeks ago, and I said, let us just hold our horses, let us get the detailed judgment, and that detailed judgment will give us some kind of roadmap. I believe we can go back to that detailed judgment and get some beacons in terms of where we go. Number one, the Supreme Court says it could not find any evidence in the submissions of NASA, in the submissions of Raila Odinga, to pinpoint culpability on any officer within the IEBC, which then means, basically what the Supreme Court was saying, that there were illegalities and irregularities, but for you to be able to assign culpability to individuals, you'd need to conduct some further investigations. And remember, Waihiga, in terms of procedure and application of the law, the standard of culpability applied by the petition court is lower than the culpability standard required in a criminal trial. We normally say it's between balance of probability required in civil cases and beyond reasonable doubt that you require in a criminal trial. So for you to imagine that you did not satisfy the lower standard for culpability in the petition court, you want to carry that evidence that could not convince the lower standard of the Supreme Court in a petition and take it to the criminal court, which has a much higher standard, in the absence of any thorough investigation, and also in light of the fact that another constitutional body, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, has indeed already moved. That's correct. The DPP has already made it clear that it has released its officers to conduct investigations and report back within 21 days. And on the basis of that, we can then be able to assign culpability to individuals and then allow a criminal process to ensue from there. I'm also aware that the EACC, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, has contacted the DPP and asked for a joint effort so that we are going actually to see a constitutional legal process leading to possible prosecution.
You're not worried that those 21 days could drag on, and of course with the election coming up, the timing, because I believe that's one of NASA's concerns, that 21 days is too long a time. The election is coming up.
Too long according to who? Too long according to who?
Because the election is coming up in what, 34
but you
days
see,
or so?
we don't run this country on the whim of people. We run this country according to the law. We run this country according to the Constitution. And we must be able to respect an institution that the Constitution has established. Both the EACC, the DPP, the IEBC are constitutional bodies protected by the Constitution against direction. They're not supposed to be directed.
You say those words very clearly, as we know that Jubilee legislators at this time are plotting to change electoral laws, which the Supreme Court did not point out have an issue. If you're saying, you know, where the Supreme Court have raised issues is where we should move, why is Jubilee planning to change electoral law if the Supreme Court did not say that these laws have a problem?
The little I have heard from the Jubilee corner in terms of legislation is that there are certain technical issues that may require to be revisited in legislation, and one of them is, you see, in the build-up to the last elections, there was a bipartisan approach, there was a bipartisan effort by Parliament intended to even the playing field and assuage the fears on both sides. Among those things was to provide a window for reverting to a manual exercise in the event that technology failed. One of the things I'm hearing from that conversation is that if we are so suspicious of technology, because this whole petition and this whole conversation has not been about ballot boxes. It has not been about ballot papers. It has been about servers. It has been about transmission. And so, one of the elements I'm hearing, which I agree with, is that why don't we then agree that for this particular election, we go absolute manual? Let's forget servers, if servers can be manipulated. Let us forget electronic transmission. Let us put in place a process where, if I'm voting at Port Victoria Primary School in Budalangi, then those votes are going to be counted right there. They're going to be collected. The whole process of delivering the Form 34A, the Form 35, 34, up to the national county tallying center. That's right. Then we can have a process where even if it is going to take a photograph of that thing by all the agents, if you are whichever mechanism that you can then agree on, so that we go complete manual. I think that's the conversation that is going on.
Allow me to interrupt you there. I need to bring in Honorable Halwale. I want you to respond to what he said.
You know, listening to, and allow me to intimidate them a little bit because of age. Listening to the two young politicians, I'm amazed that they have time for such a bad names about Raila. If it was not because of the effort put into the struggle by, amongst others, Raila, the political landscape was such that these two young politicians maybe would never have seen the inside of a parliament. We have to be grateful to Raila for this. And I say this with great authority because I remember just across the street here, I was a student at the University of Nairobi during those days of the struggle. We were expelled from the university just to make sure that my dear younger brother Ababu would enjoy a level playing ground in Budalangi. And indeed he has been enjoying it until some misguided things took place and he ended up not being re-elected. One of the finest politicians we have in the country, Babu. So, Babu, I want to request you, just remain consistent. The older Babu is the Ababu of the future. But this new found
1 minute, I'll give you a chance to respond. I have to interrupt you there because you see, first of all, can you give him 1 minute? Give him 1 minute.
He said as your senior, he is speaking.
Allow me to interject respectfully.
Okay, then I'll give you 1 minute because I need to get back to him.
Because first of all, I'm not a point of discussion in this show. I'm really not a subject of discussion. Secondly, there is no old or new Ababu. This is just the Ababu. And holding different views at different times does not change who you are. I know, for instance, I could say a few years ago, my brother Boni Halwale was strongly opposed to Raila Odinga. At some point, we even had a clash of sorts because of the views he held against Raila Odinga, very strongly held. And he used to say some very unpalatable things about Raila Odinga. But you see, the views we have held yesterday, or we hold it today, that is what democracy is all about. But to reduce
I think he's saying that democracy that you now enjoy.
No, but by the way, I also disagree. I appreciate the contribution that Raila has done, but there is an erroneous narrative that has been woven in this country consistently, that the new constitutional order we enjoy today, the democratic space we enjoy today, is attributed to Raila Odinga. That is a fallacy. This is a collective effort where many gallant Kenyans have contributed to. Some of them even paid with their lives. Some of them have been maimed forever, like Kenneth Matiba. And so to always tell us that we enjoy this or that because of Raila Odinga is a fallacy. But it's a fallacy that cannot stand the test of scrutiny. It's a collective effort where we have only contributed.
Thank you.
I thought the mic was mine.
I want to come back to you to finish.
The mic was mine.
And remain relevant to the discussion.
Yes,
relevant. Go ahead.
I'm glad that I apologized that I was intending to intimidate them a little bit. And Babu, and you have done so well. So, with all due respect, Jubilee surprises Kenyans. If indeed they won the election, and if indeed they respect the Supreme Court, which found that there were illegalities and irregularities committed by not the president, but by IEBC, they should be joining us as NASA in expressing our unhappiness with IEBC. But because they have some hidden agenda, they are not unhappy with IEBC that it committed irregularities and illegalities that led to the nullification of the presidential result. The second thing which surprises me with IEBC, not IEBC, with Jubilee, is that they are now busy addressing something which was never in court. Two things. The issue of amend the laws. The Supreme Court, if it had wanted to say it, it would have said that the laws, the Constitution was bad, and this is why the election was flawed. Go and amend it. Instead, they said that the problem was that the process was conducted in contravention of the dictates of the same constitution and other laws, electoral laws. So why they are now busy trying to look for areas where they can amend, and Ababu, I'm glad you have remembered that we had a joint effort a few months ago to address this. And I can assure you, I speak with authority on this one because I sat on that joint committee. And we banned midnight oil, and I can assure you, the product was carefully negotiated, and it might not be perfect, but it is good enough. To try and now go back the way Honorable Babu is suggesting, that we set aside electronic technology from the electoral process of this country, that is retrogressive. Let us embrace technology because the future is in the hands of technology. I have a lot of respect for the Honorable Mwenda, and I want to urge you,
without going off topic.
Yes.
Without going off topic.
I'm on her now. Go ahead. I'm on her now. And I want to urge you, you have to make your own contribution to the democratization of this country. Why? You know the Constitution. It says that the IEBC should protect the sovereignty of Kenyans, the people. The IEBC should ensure that the process of electioneering, voting, and blah 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 is democratic, and finally that the IEBC should promote the Constitution. When it fails to do that, and older people like me, we were thrown out of the university, expelled We made our contribution. Raila was detained. He made his contribution. Make yours, man.
Thank
you.
Now you can answer.
Make yours, ma'am.
Yes. I will.
Go ahead.
I again come back to the very basics of this discussion. Let's shift the focus away from the IEBC. Let's shift the focus back to the Constitution that you're trying to say I rightfully should uphold. In its detailed judgment, the Supreme Court did not cite these ambiguous irregularities that we keep on hearing about. So now we've shifted away from
Sorry,
the
just
fact
say that again.
They talked about irregularities. We were hoping, certainly as a Kenyan, and I know my fellow party members were hoping that there would be this treasure trove of issues that Maraga and the Supreme Court, the Maraga 4 at least, would support, something that would support their ruling. I mean, annulling an election is not exactly a small thing.
You were not concerned with the Deputy Chief Justice.
They did not do that.
They did.
They did not
Hold
do
on,
that.
Hold on. Go ahead.
They did not do that. And in fact, in Joki Dungo's dissenting opinion, she clearly said, that the Supreme Court has a responsibility not to be speculative. And half of the evidence, they didn't bring anything substantive to the table. So this is why we're now moving away from talking about the Supreme Court and we keep on honing in on IBC. You started this panel discussion with an overview on what happened in Germany.
Yes.
And I think it's really important that we bear in mind the relevance of what happened in Germany to our current situation. The Germans, who are known globally for their sophistication and their technology, flat out rejected the electronic voting and the transmission of votes. I agree with my brother Narabu. Let's go to the polls again. Let us make this thing manual. If indeed NASA feels, as they continue to assert, that they won this election, it would have been such a simple thing to open these boxes and count their 8 million
even if we don't know where the boxes have been.
Interjection. But let me conclude. I didn't interrupt you.
Interjection. Hold on.
But they don't want to do that. And the reason they want to do that, and the reason why they keep on skirting, is they know that Raila he did not win the first time. They also know that he will not win the second time, because in fact the margin is going to be wider. If you just look at what's happened in the past few weeks, the numbers, of course, in their strongholds have diminished, number one. Number two...
What proof do you have about that? Now you're going to have to allow me to
let's take Ukambani as an example. Let's take Ukambani as an example.
Okay.
Ukambani was exclusively NASA. That is not the case anymore. And if you look nationally...
Why? Because some of their leaders went to have pledged
because you
support for Jubilee?
Well... no, not the leaders. Generally, Ukambani is looking at this equation and he's saying, we know that Kalonzo Musyoka has been duped. He will never be president of this country. We know very clearly that this is all about Raila. We know that being in opposition has not been fruitful for people. We know that since it took power in 2013, Jubilee has actually worked. It's not about propaganda. It's what we can see, what we can feel. So we know that this government has worked, and we want to be back where we've always belonged, which is in the fold.
Okay, I'll have to cut you off because I need to take a break. I need to allow Honorable Babu, Honorable Halwale a quick chance before we take that break.
Very quickly, first of all, Bonnie is not right by saying that we are regressing. When we talk about going back to the law, the law already provided that you could revert to the manual system.
Okay.
So it's really not regressing. The other thing is that it is very clear, Wahiga, that the Supreme Court is disappointed. I actually found the ruling unreasoned.
Disappointed who?
It disappointed juristically. Juristically speaking, as a jurist, it is disappointed, and you expected them to be a little bit more logical, and you expected that ruling to be better reasoned and to provide a clearer roadmap. But that's neither here nor there. It's a ruling. It's already been delivered. We say because we protect the rule of law, we shall go by it. But the most important thing here, Wahiga, is that very, very briefly, is that we should allow the will of the people to prevail. Allow the will of the people to prevail. I believe that NASA has had a game plan. I believe NASA participated in undermining the electoral process at some point, because the issues that the court pinpointed, unsigned forms, unstamped forms, and stuff like that. A lot of them came from NASA strongholds. A lot of them came from Mombasa County, for instance. And just listening to Hassan
But who
Omar,
is in charge of those forms? Not NASA.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that.
Okay,
I'm coming
okay.
to that. Because you see, when they pick some teacher as a presiding officer in Likoni or in Kisauni, and that presiding officer is compromised at that level, then that presiding officer in Kisauni or in Likoni should be the one who takes responsibility, not Chiloba. In any case, what the DPP is saying, allowing him time to conduct this investigation, that's what will allow the DPP to be able to know what did the presiding officer A or returning officer B have to do with this whole issue. And I believe that a lot of these election officials on the ground were compromised by NASA to mess up these documents, knowing that they already had a route, they already had a path, they already had the intention.
Have you taken that evidence to anyone, Honorable Bob?
I am expressing my opinion, and I think this is about opinion. Okay. And my opinion is that they had a game plan. The game plan started with the compromising officials at that lower level, have this thing come to the Supreme Court, play their games in the Supreme Court, knowing that their end game, the end game of Raila Odinga and NASA, is to force themselves into government through the back door.
Okay.
Their intention, absolutely, they want to Nusumukate, but they should be told that there is no slice,
both of you at this time.
not even harufu.
Allow me to come to you on the other side of this break. I can also see Honorable Loch, a member of Parliament who also is part of the NASA legal team, will be joining us. I'll be coming back to you on the other side of this break. We need to take a short break. We've actually passed the time. We should have taken a break. We'll be right back. Send us your feedback. I'll be reading your SMSs 22422, and on social media as well. I'll read some of your feedback. You're watching Citizen Extra live on Citizen TV. We will be right back.